This battered leather case survived the travels, the mud and the chaos of World War I. Over 110 years old, it once hung from the saddle of a German cavalryman, and today you're about to see details most people never will. Look at this craftsmanship. This isn't a reproduction, this is the real deal. But first, before we take a closer look at it, let's have a look at the history and evolving of gun cases in the German or better Prussian army from the 1700s to the 1900s. The evolution of weapon cases is closely tied to the armament of the cavalry. In the 18th and early 19th centuries, firearms were often strapped directly to the saddle, with leather pouches and straps, usually on the side. Almost every Prussian cavalryman carried a pistol in a leather saddle holster. From 1756 through 1792, 1806 and 1812. The way firearms were mounted hardly changed, except that the support stick seen in 1756 was eventually abandoned. Some carried pistols, others carbines or longer guns, depending on their regiment. After 1814, cuirassiers were issued 18 carbines per regiment, and by 1831 the Uhlans had the same, including 48 rifles. By 1819, dragoons and hussars, considered light cavalry, also carried carabines with 48 rifles distributed across their formations, though non-commissioned officers generally kept pistols. By 1851, regulations required every cavalryman to carry a firearm. Cuirassiers and Uhlans retained pistols, while dragoons and hussars surrendered theirs in exchange for carbines. This reorganization in 1854 meant that the pistol holsters once fixed to the front of the saddles were removed and gun cases added. During the Franco-Prussian War of 1870-71, many Prussian cavalry regiments equipped themselves with captured chassepot carbines, since German forces lacked a breech-loading cavalry weapon. These carbines were carried on the troopers' backs, awkward on horseback, but invaluable when fighting dismounted. The experience created strong demand for a proper breech-loading carbine and a uniform way of carrying it. With the introduction of the carbine 71 in 1873, the first part of that demand was met, but not the second. In 1876, a new diagonal leather holster was issued for the carbine 71. It was mounted on the right side of the saddle, similar to earlier 18th century styles, but this time as a full protective case. The holster covered the weapon up to the trigger, shielding it from mud and moisture, though it was never entirely satisfactory. Attempts to replace it failed, so the design remained in service. In 1880, the holster was modified with a leather tongue, which in 1887 was replaced by a flap and buckle closure. By 1890, Kaiser Wilhelm II approved a new model of the football 88, made for the carbine 88. A further packing order in 1895 introduced a vertical case strapped to the right side of the saddle. Though this made mounting and dismounting easier, it also left the carbine more vulnerable to damage. Tests in 1896 experimented with carrying the weapon on the trooper's back, on the left side of the saddle, or both. In 1909, the carbine 98 entered service, and with it came a new case mounted on the left side of the saddle. In 1912, its lid was widened for better protection. Importantly, these cases were only for marches. In operational areas, cavalrymen carried the carbine slung on their back, ready for immediate use. By 1915, however, the war had changed everything. The Prussian War Ministry judged these leather cases too costly and unnecessary, ordering that replacements should no longer be issued. Still, many cavalrymen continued to use them, since carrying a carbine slung over the shoulder was exhausting on long rides. In practice, some troopers marched with cases, others without, depending on personal preference and circumstance. Today, we can only piece together their actual use by studying photographs from the time. So, from pistols strapped to the saddles in the 18th century, to carbines carried on the back in 1870, to the specialized holsters of the early 1900s. Every change in cavalry tactics reshaped the gear. By the First World War, these cases represented the last generation of mounted firearm holsters, born from the age of cavalry charge, but soon overtaken by trench warfare. And that brings us to the artifact in my hands today, an original survivor of that final chapter. Now, let's take a closer look at the case itself. Alright then, let us have a detailed look about the gun case 1912 for the cavalry. As we can see, it is long enough to hold the carabine. Let us start at the top of the case. There we have a strap and a hole to fix it on the back of the saddle. Besides that, there is another strap, this time with a buckle, to have another point not only to fix it, but also to stabilize the gun case. Moving on to the lid. This is strengthened with a double layer on the side. On the inside there are some reinforcements of leather for some stability. And it closes with a cap rivet made of brass. A bit further down the case, there's a large flap made of leather, which is made for fixing the case to the saddle at yet another point. This time the saddle girth, again for more stabilization. Going the case down, we see that it's getting narrower. Now, on the bottom there is a small hole, so that if there's water or something similar flowing in the case, it can flow out instead of staying in, and the gun is protected against water and possible damage. Going back up, this time looking at the back side. There we can see that the attached pieces have been reinforced with rivets. The squarish piece, which is more on the top, is filled with some felt to have some sort of upholstery, so neither the gun or the horse could get damaged or injured. It looks pretty complicated to do, to be honest. Between the leather is some rawhide on the upper part. I think this is again for more stability. That's it so far for the case. More of its secrets will be revealed while I'm working on a reproduction. So let us have some final thoughts about it. This single leather case carries more than just a carbine. It carries centuries of evolution in cavalry warfare, from pistols strapped to saddles in the 1700s to the modernized holsters of the early 1900s. It represents the constant push to adapt weapons to the battlefield. By the time it was used, in the Great War, it stood at the very edge of history. The last practical design for horse-mounted combat before the age of cavalry came to an end. Holding it today, we're not just looking at old leather and brass, we're holding the story of soldiers, innovation, and the final moments of a tradition that stretched back hundreds of years. Holding this isn't just about leather and brass, it's about connecting to the men who rode into history on horseback. I'm planning to make a reproduction of this exact case from my own impression. And if you want to see the whole process, pattern making, leather work, hand stitching, let me know in the comments down below. What other original gear do you want to see? Or which background do you want to know more about? Your suggestions help shape this channel. Thank you all for watching, have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, bye!